Welcome to our Mob Jazz podcast. This is Melvin. Just a quick note to say that if you're currently listening to this conversation, you're not currently on our subscriber feed and will only be hearing the first part of this episode. In order to hear the full episode, you'll need to subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find full episodes of the Mob Jazz podcast and other subscriber-only content. The Mob Jazz podcast is made possible purely through the support of our patrons. So if you like what we're doing here, please consider subscribing.
What you seek, man?
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Mob Jazz podcast. I want to answer that in a second. I feel like I should intro the guest first. Today we are joined in the studio by a woman. By popular demand, bro.
Why'd you say it like that, man?
Bro, everyone has been asking for us to have
Overdue, honestly.
a lady on the pod.
Have we actually had
Nah,
a
but
lady
like-
on the pod though? We haven't.
We have.
Who is she?
Fave.
Oh, Shari. Shari.
And Shari.
Damn.
No, okay, not in a while. Since we launched the Patreon, we haven't had a woman on the pod.
It's
Yeah, but we are joined by Nicole Kabasuga. I want to let her just explain what she does. And yeah, man, then we'll get into it.
So hi guys.
what I
I'm,
say.
I'm Nicole. So mainly what I do is ECD advocacy. I studied law, but then I realized the legal field, like in itself, was not really for me. But I found an interest in ECD, especially through the World Forum Foundation. It's this organization that really works with so many associations that try to promote child welfare and well-being and like just overall community development. So they start teaching you about like early childhood development, ECD, if I say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like
For-
guys need to know. What
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
ECG
so
for guys who don't
yeah.
know? Before they
We
think
need
it's
a
like
key.
EKG,
Oh,
I
Ecuador.
know,
It's like
I
Ecuador,
know.
bro.
ECG,
You're welcome.
ECG scan.
Mhm.
And it has like a lot of like in that profession there's so many like abbreviations, it kind
Okay.
of gets confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, so ECD means early childhood development. So basically it's like a concept that just involves the mother and also the child, basically the entire community. They try to look at a way where they can like empower and uplift everyone so that like just everyone can be more productive, like as members of society, more collaborative, more peaceful, just all of that, basically.
Okay.
Nah, actually, don't use the second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
We have been showing that
Okay.
V.
What's
What
going
they call
on?
the peace sign.
Okay. So before we get
Uh,
into all of that, I feel like we should first catch up with everyone. How are you guys feeling? How's everyone feeling? How are your weekends? How are your weeks going?
Yeah, my weekend was actually kind of lit. Had a good time. I went for all the parties. Okay, that's cap. Friday I was at home. Saturday.
Oh, wait. Tell me how your weekend was and how it relates to early childhood development.
I'm coming.
Yeah, let's start there.
Friday, I stayed home. How that relates to early childhood development is they don't allow me to leave home when I was young. So I stayed in line with what I was taught. Now Sato is when I divulged from my early ECG.
ECG.
I heard that. I didn't want to say anything.
What's that scan where they scan the
Yeah.
electricity in your thing? Is it ECG?
EKG?
EKG.
Yeah.
That's what I keep thinking. Let me see. Saturday was
Man, that was AKG.
yeah, I think of AK-47. Now, Saturday was lit, man. I went for an art show, and first of all, I have to start by saying I think I'm going to go for more art shows, bro.
That's nice. Where was it?
It was in industrial area. There's this Afri Art Gallery.
Oh,
It's a really posh gallery in this Kampala, man. Like they were having an exhibition. It was 8 artists from Kenya that were showing a few of their art pieces. But it was crazy, man. I literally felt my brain expanding.
Like, was it like paintings or like just different forms of art?
Different forms. There were paintings, there was charcoal, there was prints. But that particular collector who owns that gallery, he has a particular style that he looks for. One of the artists described it to me like he wants to see you battling demons in your art. He didn't want no portraiture.
Damn.
He wants to see some, troubled art.
Chain.
Yeah, some. So
And how does that relate to early childhood development?
I don't trust the artists again.
Hey,
But those guys, they went through some jazz in the early childhood, bro.
Uh-huh.
But it was super lit, man. First of all, I have to say, I think artists might be making money on a scale that we haven't seen in this UG, bro.
Really? I don't think art is
Yeah,
very.
Me neither. But I know what you mean, but I have to disagree. But I know
Let
what
me
you
tell
mean.
you, like, if you're a popping African artist right now, and popping is relative, because you just have to create good art. I had a chance to talk to like a bunch of artists there. But these guys are making cash. First of all, these guys only charge in dollars. No one there was charging in shillings. And when I say dollars, I'm not talking about 20, 30. I'm talking about like, there's guys telling me he doesn't go below 1,000. That was the cheapest guy. Didn't go below $1,000 for his art pieces. His art pieces are in galleries all over this continent. He's called Brian Kansime Lister. Shout out to him. Guys, super talented.
Lister.
You know Lister?
Yeah.
That's a guy. There's another one, Daniel Ateni. Shout out that guy. That's the guy who now put me on to this whole thing. But these guys are making bank, bro. Now, those are the guys I knew. Now, of the ones I didn't know, there's another lady. She sells her paintings minimum 12K. There's another guy we saw, he sells his minimum 50K per piece, bro. And like, this is, I don't know what the split is with him and the gallery, but me, I was looking at these numbers thinking, now, wow, bro, like, I know lawyers and engineers and doctors who are not going to smell this cash ever in their lives, bro. They're not even going to. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, these guys are really making bank, bro. Hey, it was killing you. But yeah, so I think I'm going to start attending more art shows. I got an art piece, not from that show, but I bought one that day from Daniel Ateni.
Some
Shout out to him.
Man.
My wallet in the car when we're leaving. But yo, it was actually crazy, man. Shout out all these artists, man. They're doing big things. I think right now is a good time to be an African artist. If you're listening to me right now and you have a skill in art, please continue and like.
Hey, I thought you were going to say something else. Bro.
Hey,
Like, reach out to me, man. Let's do this thing. Let's collaborate.
You did crazy. I have no gallery, bro, but please, like, just keep drawing. There's a lot of money to be made. These guys are telling me like, artists sell one painting and start several businesses here. It's that kind of money, bro.
Yeah. Shout out to Vodo Art Society as well. The guys who are here.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Those guys are fine.
And it's
Wamala
so
was
good that
there.
there's so many more like creative spaces now. Like before, I don't feel like there were just as many or like enough money was put into them. But like I feel like it allows people to now like actually go and be creative, because now your parents will be like, oh no, there's no money, and then you can be like,
there's money.
There's money.
Facts.
Like, you just have to just battle some demons on the canvas.
Interestingly
win.
enough, that was their 20th anniversary, right? Of the Afri Art Gallery. As in, that guy has been doing that for 20 years. That's what that gallery was about.
Man, shout out to him,
Shout
bro.
out to him.
Shout out to him. That's a sick gallery he has, and it's called Daudi, I think. Shout out to him. Then after that, we went for Kahuma's thing. Raymond Kahuma, he was hosting at a certain Hara lounge. And it was
Ahara.
fun.
Ahara.
You go to
Ahara.
go say haram.
Haram. That was also kind of fair. I was there, but when I watched that TikTok he posted, bro, I was like, damn, this thing actually looked super lit, bro. Yet I was there. But yeah, shout out to him. That was a good event. Sunday we were here. There was a Jameson thing. How do you say that one backwards? Son James.
It's too late.
Son James.
Yeah. Mason J or something.
Mason J.
Mason J.
Nah.
Nico was so confused. Like, what are these guys doing?
Oh, so basically what we're doing is we don't want to say their
Unplug it,
names, yeah.
yeah.
So we put them in like
So we
big
just
Latin.
reverse them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone I think it was Lynn, she was saying if you take a shot every time these guys come up with a new code word.
Yeah.
I saw that guy, you'll be dead by the time you're done with that game.
That was a Jameson event.
It was right. It was right. Joshua Barker performed, the guy can sing. Shout out him. It was a good weekend.
Nico, how was your weekend?
I really didn't do much in terms of early childhood development. I went for one of my niece's birthdays, but like really that was it. But I love that people are still putting in effort into like their kids' birthdays. I thought that thing died down. You know how people would have like bouncing castles and like party bags and.
Why would it die down?
I
Did
guess,
it die
you know,
down or
when
did you just grow up?
Exactly, that's the thing. That's what I realized. I'm like, oh, I'm just not in the space. Maybe like
You
I
can't
don't
fit in the
realize
bouncing
it.
castle.
Nah,
I
we're going
won't
to talk
lie
about
though.
that's part of
I
early
won't
childhood
lie.
development, bro.
If there was an adult bouncing castle.
You would be there.
Aye,
And that
yeah,
says
yeah,
something,
yeah,
by the way,
yeah.
about the way you developed, bro.
Yeah,
Some guys didn't have enough bouncing castles. Some guys didn't have bouncing
Some guys
castles,
did not
bro.
progress past the bouncing
Yeah,
castle.
some
They're
guys, that
still
was the
there.
best
What's so
time.
wrong to jump on a bouncing castle? You're playing. What's wrong with
And it may age
We
me.
didn't say it's wrong.
alone.
We didn't say
When
it's
you're
wrong. We
playing
said
mob.
you never developed past that.
No, but like I feel like people are like when people see like adults enjoying like something
Bouncing castles.
childish, yeah, you'd think it's like a childish game. Like,
I don't
there's
think that's a
nothing
problem with
wrong.
Have you guys been on
I
a
think
bouncing
it's-
castle as an
Adult.
adult?
Yeah.
So
I
that's
have.
fine.
Trust me, guys. It's first of all, it's exhausting.
It doesn't actually bounce, you know.
Not really, because you're too heavy, bro. You're not supposed to be
Yeah.
on it.
It's
not made for
that's why.
adults.
Yeah, that's why there
Maybe
needs
you're
to
not
be
in
an
the right
adult.
one. Yeah, you need
'Cause
to get an yeah.
Every time I stand, I feel like
There
there's
should
not
be,
enough air in that thing,
Because
bro.
the
That's
adult,
the thing.
the
You're
adult
too heavy,
bouncing
bro.
castles are lit. I won't lie to you,
What
man.
you
But what
an
is an
adult
adult
one?
bouncing castle, bro?
There's some place.
Just know that one. They've doubled the wind blowing.
It's about to burst.
They've multiplied the wind, bro. Nicole, you are still saying.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I was saying about like how people when they play as adults, the people don't really appreciate it. And yet like playing is such like an innate part of all of us. Like even animals play. I feel like that's how we connect with animals. Like everyone plays, everyone knows how to play, and you don't even really need to teach someone how to play.
That's a fact.
So I feel like that's why we just never like grow out of it, and we shouldn't. But I feel like people are just always like, oh, why are they doing that?
why you
Like
being a kid,
they
man?
should grow up or whatever. You know, why are they indulging in like childish things? But they are the bitter ones because they refuse to like explore that side of them that they actually really do want to do this, but they feel like trapped.
Facts.
Man, I wish Michael Jackson had you fighting for him back in the day when
But
he built a whole theme park in his
Man.
crib. I guess we're having him for being too kiddish, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying he missed out on a childhood because of that.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
but I feel like he kind of did.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, how do we know?
You
That's
are
a story. Haven't you seen that? Haven't you seen that
like you
the
never
docu? How
I
he
mean-
didn't have a childhood, bro. How they were just always on the road.
Yeah.
They never had fun.
Exactly.
Those guys
But
are
that
singing
was
at
his
like 5.
childhood.
Nah, but he
no,
wasn't
but
a
that's
kiddo. He didn't
not-
play.
He wasn't
like-
a child.
Exactly.
Like this idea, I think of kiddos have to play. I think it's a very
Yeah,
new,
okay.
it's a very new idea.
It's actually very old, bro.
When kids start
It's
playing.
so
So
old.
is that
Imagine,
you
don't kill
must
me.
play,
Okay,
bro.
wait, guys. We're going to far ahead of ourselves. Nicole, finish how your weekend. is.
We shall come back.
No, but I feel like it's interesting what he's saying.
Yeah, no, we're going to get back into it for sure. We're going to get back
Sorry.
into it. What else did you do this weekend? Birthday
I feel like
party.
that was about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite
Nice.
a boring weekend. I was
Nice.
getting ready for this. I was quite scared and yeah.
Scared
Look
over
at you
this guy.
now.
Like all of
This guy is quite scary.
everything. No, I actually don't think it's you guys. I feel like
Okay.
it's just more of like, just saying information. It feels like I'm kind of like in an exam, but not really. But like, it's because I have something to say. And yeah.
Fair enough.
True. I'd also be scared. That's the truth.
Yeah.
The voice. Talk to us, man. How was your weekend? Yo, the voice kills me, bro.
Wait.
You know, in the middle of the night, as in like in the middle of a night out, the voice woke up to you at like 12:30. I'm like, bro, man, I have to go and work. He always came back. I'm like, yo, this guy is living on a different timeline.
No, I can relate, bro.
It's hilarious.
Let me kill you,
I
yeah?
can relate.
Sunday night, we had just got back home from this Mason J event. I called this guy. And he's like, man, I'm going to work. So I'm not alone. I'm not
Nah,
alone.
you guys are
Okay,
funny. You're funny.
bruh. I can be out. You think I'm enjoying with you, Kumbi? All I'm thinking about is all the work I'm behind on, bro.
Anyway, so Friday I went to Shook. Business as usual. Scales was performing. So
I
Mr.
didn't know
Scales, on
about
a
that,
mission.
by
Make
the
us see
way.
them.
I
Television.
didn't see any like posters or any.
They posted them like literally the day before. That's when I saw.
Yeah.
Was it free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least.
They even give you a Jameson cocktail at the entrance.
Yeah.
That's how free it was. It was super
It was
negative.
so free if you didn't come. No, but
That's a
yeah.
fact, though. I feel like you're laughing like you don't believe it.
At the
Really?
entrance,
that's
yeah.
Like how many people though? Like
Everyone that came
Okay.
in.
no.
Blackberry. It was like a Jameson event.
We're going to invite you for our next Jameson event. Honest, they always give free cocktails at the
Yes, be
entrance.
putting
all
out
the time.
events,
And
bro.
they
In fact, the
didn't
next one
ask
is in
for-
December. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah.
And then just what? ID? Is that like
No,
an EDC thing?
like,
Oh.
I mean, yeah, let's not talk alcohol to kids.
What age does alcohol start affecting your brain?
You're going too far. I can't really talk about that.
Let's finish your weekend.
That's
Let's
a
finish your
different
weekend.
question.
Anyway, yeah, so I didn't see Scales perform on Friday. But I had a good time before he came. I had to go and work.
What time did you perform?
That was my next question. Never mind, bro. Never mind.
Nah, but I got home at like 1.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was a good night. It was a good night. The details are for Patreon.
Nice.
Subscribe.
Saturday. What did was I with you? I was with you. Yeah. Saturday we went to Haram. It was a good time also. You're also there. And then Sunday, I was also at the event.
Bro, I lost like
Skills performed
20K
again.
at Haram.
Eh?
Like it fell out of your pocket.
You know, okay, you know you can have like mobile money, but you have some cash in your pocket just for...
In case.
That 20 bob hurt me, bro. It slipped out of my pocket. I don't know how.
There's a guy who's 20K richer.
There's a guy who saw me dropping at 20K and said, say nothing at all.
Nah, but it was a late night. I promise I wouldn't be shocked if that 20K is still in a corner somewhere.
I hope he hosts at Haram this week as well. I'd go
And
back.
To Haram?
look for your
Yeah.
20K.
Not at Haram. Let him go somewhere bigger, bro.
Hey, you didn't like it.
Not that
I
I
like
didn't
that
like it,
corner.
but that guy is way too big for Haram, bro.
Okay.
In my humble opinion.
Alright.
Okay.
Alright.
Is that a hot take?
No.
It's not.
We shall come back to you.
It's not.
Yeah, then Sunday I just went for the event. I was there at like 2 p.m, bro.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was there for a bit, went somewhere else, then went to some other place, then
Did you
came
get free
back.
tickets?
To?
This event.
No. I had to cough like
I
a
had free tickets.
peasant.
What?
I'm so sorry, guys. I feel like we need to communicate better, man. Just know we always have free tickets for those events.
Noted.
Yeah.
I don't get pissed now because I didn't know and you just didn't
I'm
communicate.
so sorry, bro.
But next time.
Nah, I'm pissed.
My
But
weekend was I'm going to explain why though. My weekend was alright. Friday we'll talk about on Patreon. We'll talk about Friday on Patreon. But let's just say I wasn't at home on Friday.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. Saturday, for some reason, bro, Umeme has been taking the power off in Bugolobi for like the last 3 weeks. On a weekend in particular, bro, I'm telling you that from most likely Friday night, but I'll just say Saturday morning until Sunday evening, there was no power in Bugos. On my side of Bugos, at least. I was mad, bro.
Load shedding.
I guess. I don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it. So my weekend was a bit shit because of that. But Saturday I went to Izumi. You guys will come up with a thing for Izumi.
Izumi E.
Was that Mizu?
Team
But
Umizumi.
I feel like it's a Mizu.
Mizu
Like a
Ubi.
Mizu. There's a Mizu now. Yeah, there's a Mizu now. There's a Mizu now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was there.
Mizumi.
Eat any sushi.
No, I'm not that guy.
Hey.
No. But I had
Did
Fuck
you
me
go
chips
there?
and chicken.
no, bro. But they have so much fire food, you guys. There's just too many things to choose
Did the
from,
rice
yeah.
and a pineapple? I be seeing that thing
Bro,
on Snap.
That thing is fuego, bro. Good lord.
I've never been to that
Hey.
team Umizumi Goa, man.
Now we'll go.
Umizumi.
We'll go.
Team.
Maybe that should be our next pod chill. We'll go there.
Go.
Yeah, we'll go there.
And by the way, the first week is coming. Sorry, it's the first week.
Yeah. So then, after that, I came to Haram to meet you guys. Fun night. Me as a shit I like when it's just us, when it's just a group. Maybe you'll tell me why. Like something. So it might have been something. It might have been something growing up. But I liked being there with everyone that I knew. It was like a small group, and I knew everyone there. So Haram was fun. I planned to leave Haram at midnight to go home, but I ended up going home at 4 a.m. from
Why?
12 Lounge.
Early childhood development. We need to talk
Yeah,
about
man.
it.
I feel like
guys who don't leave.
that's
them
that for the weekend. Any other details will be discussed on Patreon. I feel like now we should get into
Please subscribe.
what Nicole has to discuss for us. I saw the topics, and the first one was nature versus nurture.
For example, what you guys think? Which one is like more important in your opinion? Like nature or nurture? What do you
Let's
guys-
define nature.
Nature is more of like the environment you grow up in, and nature is your DNA, your genes, And then nurture is how you're brought up, your environment, basically.
Mm.
Which one's more important?
In your opinion, or do you think, what do you think about that? What do you think about nature, nurture? Before
okay.
it's like before I.
This is my thing. These are my thoughts. I think that the DNA, that's the first one. That's the one that definitely counts, I feel like, to a larger extent. But I also believe that the environment that you grow up in can alter that in a way. I don't know if it's just altering your mind or if it's altering your entire being, but I definitely think it can alter it. So I'll say nature first and then nurture.
I'm the opposite. I think nurture first. Because nature to me is too vague, man. Like, what's my DNA? Like, those are all just terms I have in my head. DNA, over, this is my character. But however, I can tell you, like, a lot of the stuff that I do in terms of, like, what I think are positive actions, that's, like, based on how I was raised. Like, there's certain things I don't do because I know they are wrong. Even if I want to do them, maybe that might be my nature. But I guess my nurture now stops me from doing them. So that's why I think, personally, I think nurture is on top.
Nah, this is going to be a prime example of MJP, but I think both are important. This is why.
No,
listen.
It's an in-betweener. It's an in-betweener.
So, my answer might be a little bit biased because of where I work and the things I do. But I believe everyone has an innate character. And as Jesse said, how you grow up can change that character in a way. So I think it's important for, if we're talking about it in terms of ECD, I think it's important to, first of all, listen to the child. Does that make sense? Because adults always assume they know the best for the children. Yeah, like you have to do what the adults tell you to do. When you go to school, you have to, the adults set for you a timetable. You follow that timetable. When it's time to sleep, it's when the adults decide that you sleep. However, there's a place for the child to decide for themselves. Yeah? And for you as the adult to be the guide for that, if that makes sense. So that's why I think they're both important.
Okay.
So I can't say one over the other, but I think there's a place for them to work together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's definitely true because like humans, our infants are born with very premature brains compared to other animals. Like, have you seen like a giraffe give birth? The thing is almost walking after an hour. But like us, it takes us like, when do you start walking? Like maybe
1 year?
Like,
6
exactly.
months, 8
Coming
months,
to the end, it depends and varies on the child. But like it takes so long for us to adapt and for our brains to grow. So like, for example, how people realize that it's both kind of nature and nurture. It's like, for example, in the womb or when you actually come out of the womb, the neurons you have in your brain, they're quite few. Maybe I would say like you have 100. This is just an example. Like, yeah, so like this is you at like an infant stage. But then like by 6 years old, you have like 2,000 neural connections because like your neurons connect through like the synaptic, through synapses. So from there, the neurotransmitters are the ones that send like the chemicals to like now let you know what is what, and like it helps you regulate vision, different things. It just helps like grow that. And that's why like during that age from like 0 to 6, 8, it's very important because by 14, you have now less neurotransmitters. It's because now your brain has pruned the ones that you're not using a lot. And the ones you're not using a lot could also be good ones, If you have poor self-regulation because you have poor external examples from like your responsive caregivers, like what you were saying, your environment basically, like your parents can also affect the way your genes are basically expressed. So that's like epigenetics. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Take us back.
My
also.
first question is: so from the moment that I'm born, right, as a newborn,
Like
until
0 months.
yeah. So you said you gave an example of say a particular number of neurons, not that many.
Yeah, not that
But
many.
then they constantly increase until a certain point where they stop increasing.
Exactly.
So what point
and then
is
they
that?
start to prune off. So then that's what they call sensitive periods.
Okay.
And so that's when like your brain is like the most plastic and flexible
Malleable.
and exactly.
What
so
age is this?
So now that's that's the whole point of like ECD. They try to pinpoint that around from 0 to 8 years old. Like those are pivotal years. Like you can't say which year is more important. Like all those years are very important in this brain development, because that's when like your brain is most plastic. You can understand things, and you really are kind of defenseless also at that age. So you're relying a lot on external people. So your primary caregiver, which could be your parents or your guardians, depending on your situation. So that's why it's so important for them to have knowledge about how they can be responsive caregivers and how they can positively like nurture their children, you know, because I feel like people don't think about that too much, how to like communicate with like children. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So now what's epigenetics?
Okay, so now epigenetics is like, so you know how you have like genes, so like your DNA. So now there's also a way that nature can influence the way your DNA is used. Not the DNA itself, but then just how it's used. Like for example, your DNA could be like this light bulb. And so epigenetics, so your DNA is the shape, the color, you know, all of that external. But now epigenetics is like having like a dimmer. So you can like now dim the brightness or like increase it. So that's just it. That's how the external like environment can basically
either dim or
like
okay.
yeah.
So does that work for, should I say, things? For example, when it comes to epigenetics, yeah, say Project Mbappe. I am trying to become a football player. Yeah. So say I'm innately good at sports. The more I do it, the better I become at it. Yeah, that's the dimmer. So does it work in like departments of life? Does that make sense? Like does one rise and the other falls, or it's just consistent?
So
if that
now
makes
the
sense.
thing is with like those sensitive periods, after like your brain has pruned certain things out, like it prunes at a young age. So now that's like your brain wiring. So now that's how now you're wired. You're wired to think. So it also like that's why, you know, people can try so much to like succeed and whatever in life, but they seem to like get into like this repetitive like failure, and they don't realize it's like there's something that they're not like about their inner child that they're not trying to fix. Like there are aspects of the way that they manage themselves, the time, all of that, that reflects back to their childhood, like how someone was like who was self-regulating for this child, because children have like, they're born with very low self-regulation. Like you don't know you're a newborn, you don't know anything. Like you have an underdeveloped self-regulation system. So this system is like about your emotions, it's about your behavior, it's about just inhibition control, all of that. So now an adult acts like an external regulator. So now it's that's why it's like people say do not be hypocritical. If you're telling your child to be nice, but they're always seeing you day to day, you're not a nice person, they're going to copy you. It's not just what you tell them, you also have to like live through your words, because they're going to like see you through and through, you know. If you tell them not to shout at people, but you're always coming home like you're angry, you're yelling, you're hitting people at home, like even though you tell them that's bad, they're seeing you do it. And like if you are their role model, their first person, you're going to kind of also instill these behaviors in them.
So I have a question. When a neural pathway has been pruned, can you regrow it in old age, or is that gone forever?
No, you can, because it's like now you have to take an active role in now knowing that there's this.
The mic.
Oh, sorry.
I'm bad.
Yeah, now it's like now about you to now. That's why it's very important to like reflect on your childhood and about like certain things that, not everything that happened, but like maybe negative traits that you picked up and how it's influencing you in adulthood, and how now you can change that, because it's with that information now you can change yourself, and then those pathways can grow, but it's a bit difficult when you're older. Like it takes more work, basically.
Is there another way to change those pathways other than reflecting on your childhood? Because some people might not remember. Can you just kind of willfully force yourself into a new way of life?
I guess you don't always have to. It's like there's different ways of reflecting, not only on your childhood, but like on your current, like just patterns you see, and you don't need to remember like full stories, but you just see like patterns maybe you saw. So the plasticity is usually, it's greater when they're younger, when children are younger. But like when you're older, you can't change these things, but it takes more work. So the whole point of ECD is trying to like circumvent that. Starting
Prevention
from
is better than
yeah,
cure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so we want to start from a young age to try not only like how you teach children, but also the community, how you can also be, you may not be a parent, but you can also be an active bystander, you know. You are also a protective system, like that's there for for a child. For example, I saw this video about this boy. I think he was walking home from school, and this woman was following him and then just asking him questions, and like he even felt it was weird. So he just entered a store and he asked the woman, like, "Can you pretend to be my mom?" This woman is
I
like,
saw that video.
is like scaring me, exactly. And you kind of are
Oh,
protective.
Was she just asking him questions? The caption on the video framed it like this kid was so sharp to he avoided kidnapping this way
No,
by
okay,
asking.
she was asking him like very, oh, where are you going? Like, no. Like,
He was walking by himself.
yeah, by
Which was a
himself.
concerned citizen.
Mm,
It's not possible, eh?
the
It
way
is, definitely is.
the
but
way
like,
she was lingering by, like, if you watched the video, it just seemed weird. Like, she didn't.
who was recording?
It
I think
was
it was CCTV footage.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But to be fair, my mom told me a story recently where she works. There was a lady, a kid, who walked out of the house. I think they were like 2 or 3 years old. Walked out of the house, went to the park, and I think drowned in one of the ponds. So, as they were like trying to figure out what happened, one of the neighbors came out and was like, "You actually saw this kid walking, but she didn't do anything. Like, she just let
It's
the
not my
kid
kid
walk."
though, so like,
Exactly.
So, well, my mom was like wondering, like, why the hell would you even bring that up right now? Like,
why did you just
yeah, how can
be
you see a
quiet?
kid walk at 3-year-old and not do anything about the 3-year-old
Yeah,
walking? So maybe that was
that's very
something
weird.
similar.
Yeah, so it's like you'd be surprised how people are like, they don't really care about children in trouble or in distress, and you realize that you're kind of like, you're supposed to be an active bystander, like help. Of course, that's not your child, but like you can make a bad situation like less worse.
This was.
Yeah. So that's just the whole point about it. It's just like, just don't stand by. You can create, for example, if a child at home has horrible role models, but then, like, let's say you're an uncle or a teacher who is consistent in their lives, who is shows warmth and responsiveness, sets good boundaries with them, they will look up to you probably more than the people at home. They may be able to overcome some of their developmental issues because they have you in their lives, you know. Sometimes people will be like, oh, like parents will be like, how can my child say I'm that bad? You know, they turned out good. And, you know, your child can turn out good in spite of you. Like, there could have been other people in that child's life that they grew up and, like, they understood, like, the actual meaning. Like.
So, regarding that, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, because you're talking about us being active bystanders. And did you watch the first season of You?
That's
There
actually
was
the only
that
season I
kid
watched.
that, like, Joe's next door neighbor. So you have this guy who, he has issues, man. He has very big issues. But then, in the eyes of this child, he's
A normal guy.
a normal guy. He's actually a cool guy.
Exactly.
So does that mean, say, we should be cautious when children are present? Because in the end, when you're watching his entire life story, you're like, this guy is a mess, but this kid is, like, this is
Good
my
love
hero,
him,
man.
Yeah.
So,
And that's like the thing, you know, and I feel like also like in adulthood, that's why sometimes people can't believe, like, people they looked up to are bad people, because, you know, they really were there for them. They stood, they helped build them up. And like for you, it's just very hard for you to imagine this like this for this person. But unfortunately, sometimes it's true. And
I know. Me, my question is, I don't know how I'm going to phrase this like correctly. But earlier on, you were speaking. I mean, Magic mentioned, or we call it Magic.
how come? I was going to ask.
Because I'm magical.
Yeah.
That's so cringe.
She's just like,
But the original story is even more cringe than that response, I swear.
yeah.
Just go with it.
Magic.
He had some childhood issues.
So
Hey,
Magic-
some trauma
Magic
day.
mentioned that like sometimes people keep mentioning this inner child thing, right? I swear it has become like the most popular like psychological like trope. I'm not gonna call it a trope, but like everyone mentions, like take care of your inner child, think about your inner child, don't ignore your inner child, The
inner child.
But Magic mentioned how for a lot of people, those memories are blocked off. I'm not gonna say only traumatic memories, but a lot of their childhood memories are like blocked off and they can't remember any of that. So like, is there a way for guys to reconnect with their inner child?
I think it's not too much about remembering, because like we're humans, like memory is not always going to be our friend. But it's like it's not about remembering, but it's the fact that they happened. Like you may not remember all the good things that happened to you in your childhood, but it's the fact that they were there, and you don't even realize that these small things, like for example, they talk about serve and return. You know, your parents just holding you, looking at you like in your eyes, that actually like really helps. There was this story about like Romanian orphanages in like the late 90s, and the babies had a lot of like visual deprivation, linguistic deprivation. They were self-soothing by like rocking back and forth, and that just shows how if you do not actually give this child this small attention, that like this attention that you think is small, like it's very important, you know. So I feel like it's just very underlooked.
Okay, your thing is less like, it's less psychological and more like, let's fix this before it happens.
Exactly. Like let's not have
Instead
a
of having to
society that
remember,
is always having to remember why and like.
So I guess those ones who are messed up are beyond.
No.
Beyond
They're not beyond, but then like that's not her field now. Like she's in
The kids,
an area of trying to fix.
From like the start, you know, it's because a lot of what happens in that early childhood development has long-term effects on your physical, mental, like all that well-being, because it's so like how I'd put it is UNICEF has this kind of like framework, it's called the Nurturing Care Framework. So they have 5 components that they think like if you have all of these, your child has like an optimal chance of like having, you know, exactly, not survival, but like, you know, just having the most favorable outcomes in the future, you know, in regards to like health, well-being, and like just mental everything. So the 5 components are nutrition, health, opportunities for learning, responsive caregiving, and safety and security. And they believe like with all those all those components, if you have like, it can help create a well-rounded child. Like they're just more opportunities for success for them in the future, basically.
Let me ask, what about, and this might be kind of like devil's advocate, but what happens when you give the child all 5, but the child, for him, his nature is just to rebel against you and what you're teaching him?
But
how do you deal with that one?
How do you know? Because actually this was actually something I had asked one of my friends about unpopular opinions, and they were saying that there's one of theirs that they have is there's no such thing as a bad child, and it's just bad environment. Like if someone is, the thing is,
but
that's what like
there's some bad kids, right?
Nah, like you can't have a bad kid though.
It's
if the environment is kawa.
Come on.
And I feel like the thing is, you think about parents are not the only people who interact with the child. So your child interacts with so many other people. Of course, you're the primary caregiver, but they also interact with so many other people who can also influence your child in different ways. And it could be even ways you cannot control, you know. Bad things can happen to your child at school, and they're too afraid to tell you. And it creates now just different complexes, basically.
But they're bad kids, right? Their kids are just...
No, they're bad kids, but the kids
were
bad
born
because
bad.
of the environment.
That's the question.
Yes. Whose nature in his DNA?
No.
He's just stubborn. He's not there.
No.
How?
And I agree with Nicole there 100%.
Yeah.
But
The word stubborn
100%.
is very subjective to me.
Okay, when I say stubborn,
Very
I mean
subjective.
like the school definition, primary school definition of
And that's
stubborn.
the issue.
But what exactly?
There are no kids who are
That's
primary
the
school
problem.
definition
No,
of stubborn.
we're trying to have like young adults at school, and we forget kids are kids.
Kids are
Like they're
kids.
going to
Yeah.
run around, they're going to break things, they're going to.
And then when you beat
Abuse.
them, and
Okay,
throw
okay.
them-
I feel
Their
like-
friends and
can
bully
everyone-
their friends.
can
That's
everyone
what they're
just
going to
tell
do,
me-
eh?
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think a bad kiddo is.
Exactly.
Let's start with you, Magic.
Okay, okay, first, what do you think a good kiddo is? Let's just start right there.
No, that's you can't pinpoint a good. Like, what's a good?
So then we
kid?
make a
Okay,
pinpoint a
a
bad
good
kid.
kiddo.
But I mean, I'll tell you, a kid who is just naturally misbehaved, a child who is rebellious, a child who is okay. And for me, I'm telling you all
No.
these things from like a Christian perspective. As a Christian, like I'm raised to think that all of us are born.
If you don't listen to your parents,
Yeah,
you're a bad kiddo.
stuff like that, man. Like you don't listen because there are kids who listen to their parents. There are kids who, for them, like they don't even need to be, what's the word, like punished by their parents as much as others. But then there are kids who just are like
And I feel like that goes back to our nature and nurture.
they were
people.
nurtured in that way.
Look, for me, this is my opinion. I don't think there's any child who is born bad.
Me
I
neither.
don't think there's any child who has an innate bad character.
badness.
They're all born with
Yeah.
That's
goodness.
a
eh?
bad mind.
Even that is
Bad mind
subjective.
energy.
Even that is
So they're born
a
plain?
child is a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fresh.
The way
You're
they
new to
develop,
this world.
The way they develop makes. You're the one who said nature is more important than nature.
Yeah. And I'm coming
So-
back to that.
Yeah. So you're living in an era where the truth is parents spend much less time with their children than other people. Yeah. Your child is going to go to daycare from when they are 2. Yeah. Spend the entire day with other children whose parents you don't know or whose upbringing you don't know. Learn things, because I don't think there's a child who is born and he knows how to bully. I don't think that child.
I don't think he knows exactly what to do to bully, but there are certain kids who are born with that
That
desire to dominate other kids in the
Yeah, that
playground,
aren't-
And
bro.
do you think that's a bad
Whether
thing?
physically or emotionally.
that
Now,
aren't being
whether you want to
bullied.
call it good or bad is depending on who is judging the kid. But I think there are certain behaviors that certain children might have,
That
that
don't-
I
that don't come
cannot
from
categorize
their-
as good. That
Yeah.
is in him himself. Like when he just wants to.
That didn't come from their parents.
No,
That didn't come from.
it didn't
people
come from
who
his
take care of them.
parents. No, it didn't come from his parents. Maybe the kid just likes hurting animals and people, bro. Like he just wants to like for example, they say these, what do they call them, like serial killers. You can pinpoint them from like early childhood. They start by harming insects, then they move to like birds, then they move to small animals, then they
Interesting.
eventually move to
Okay,
people.
I feel like Nicole should take the lead in answering that one.
No,
Is that not a
I don't-
thing?
I
All my-
don't- I
all
don't-
my jazz
I'm not
is going to
in.
be-
I don't do criminology or
No,
anything.
no.
Okay,
no. I mean, in a sense of kiddos just being bad from the jump.
There's some kids who are like, we're all human beings, bro. Come on. And human beings, actually, I don't even think are good, bro. I think good human beings are way, way less. They're like in the 1% of human beings. Most of us are just
Now
like.
you're going into like the semantics of what good means.
And
Nah,
you
auntie,
have
but
to
we
be
have to
like-
have
It's
definitions for these
that's
things, good and
broader.
bad.
That's much broader. I
You
feel
see,
like
if you guys are going to say that all kids, no kid is born bad, then
I
you
feel
have to
like-
have a
I feel like
definition
what
of bad
a
and
bad
good.
human being is way broader than what a bad kid
Kid
is.
is.
You guys might be thinking like bad is like the guy murders or he steals
Like a-
or
like
he
a kiddo.
kills. But me, I'm thinking like those behaviors start from somewhere, bro. And like even if the kid was raised in the most best, environment, if the guy is still like in his head, his DNA is in tune towards those things, bro. Like
Okay.
he was born that way.
Let me say what I think a bad kiddo is. Right? I think bad kiddos are kiddos that beat other kids.
Mhm.
Like purposely don't listen to anyone. As in, if you tell them what to do, they intentionally just do the opposite of that. Kiddos that break only the stuff that you've told them not to break. It's like that's the one in particular that I'm going to break. And I feel
Just
like
to spite you.
I feel like all of those behaviors,
I land.
not just learned, I feel like they're either learned or they're reactions.
Of something.
Like-
They're acting
Yeah,
out.
like they're begging for attention, bro.
For example, a lot of kids who, like I've said, fight or try to assert dominance is because sometimes they're either like in violent households or like even their teachers are violent. Like, and then that's something they're now starting to learn. And those are one of the things about like beating. Beating doesn't always help. Like, it can either make you like very obedient and you always do what someone says and never think outside the box, or now you just want to assert dominance, and now you never know how to like properly like manage your emotions.
Okay.
You know,
The way I look at it is, as human beings, there'll always be certain human beings that just want to assert dominance. Whether I want to call that a good thing or a bad thing is different.
Now us were discussing about where it comes from.
But me, I think there's
What's
certain
the
guys
root
who are
cause?
just born with that.
Let me
Like,
Nah.
that's
Let
the DNA.
me-
That's what it takes them.
let me
they want to
throw a
assert
coin into
dominance.
this conversation.
Uh,
I think people are born with traits that
Yeah.
are dominant in them.
Yes.
Whether those traits become positive or negative is different. It's not up to the person. Well, it can be, but let me give you an example. According to psychology, at least the little things I know. Do you know that violent people and ambitious people almost have the same traits when it comes to like their brains and their neurons? Yeah? Because it comes from the same place. Being violent is you asserting dominance. I'm using a very example. And being ambitious is you want to assert dominance
dominant.
in a different way. Like you're ambitious enough to say, I want this, I'm going to get it.
it's learning how to channel your emotions
Yeah.
properly.
And that's what the issue is. I think you have the trait, yes. However, what it becomes in the end is different. It could be your environment, it could be your nature, it could be what you've seen, it could also be what you've gone through. Yeah.
Also, what you've done in the past.
Yeah,
You
there's
can
that
learn
too.
that
But this is the
if
thing.
I hit someone on the head, they respect me more. And you can learn that in kindergarten. Your parents don't have to hit themselves
what
to
he's
learn
saying
that.
is, as in, you might have that predisposition to, as in, let's say, like he put it, like I have like a predisposition to assert my dominance in someone.
Yes.
One day I hit someone, and my
Yes.
dad is like, "Yo,
Relax.
Can't do that.
you can never ever do that
Yeah.
shit." Now you're trying to figure out other ways that it's okay. The next time you assert your dominance in a, let's say like in a football match, you score a goal or something, your dad is like, "Aha, let's do that." Now you become that guy that likes to win. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, but me, what I'm talking about is now that that desire to assert dominance.
That's not negative.
It's not
That
like-
on
that
its
one
own.
is like in the kid, bro.
Yeah.
And it's not dependent on the parent.
I
like,
agree. I
Your
agree
parent
with
can
you
your
there.
parent can kind of guide how you assert your dominance, maybe, or maybe you can learn from your parents. But I think that thing in that kid who wants to assert dominance, that is his.
I
But
agree.
his
that,
with
that,
you.
that make him a bad kid.
That's
yeah,
not
that's what
a
I'm saying.
bad
Like, if you
trait.
want to call
That
that
make him a
good or
bad
bad, that's up to you. But I think certain children are born with certain traits that we in society call bad, bro. There are certain kids who are also born with traits of like they want, like I don't know if it's born or per se, but like they might want to steal or like everything is theirs, bro. I know you see
Yeah,
things
that
in
one
kindergarten,
particular
bro.
also-
You
that
see-
one in particular, I also think it's like a bad habit that you don't learn.
They learn how to steal.
Yeah.
No, I think some
yeah,
kids are just
yeah.
they're kleptomaniacs,
No,
bro.
let me tell you.
They're kleptomaniacs
But
in society.
all that develops, bro. A guy is always denied things.
Okay, why don't all of us
Okay,
become
let them
kleptomaniacs?
go get a-
So,
Okay, I
like,
guess that's the
it's
point
like-
now what they're trying to reach at.
Yeah, so it's like when you're like 14, like I said, you have less like neural connections than when you're, for example, 6 years old. So that's why it's so important to teach proper self-regulation, because by like 14, you are at a point where you're now making also decisions for your, like as a human. Now the child is no longer a child, you know, they're like a young adult. What's the word? Teenager. Yeah. But like as a teenager, you also now you start having autonomy, there's self like actualization, but it's just that part before you have that, you know, it's like now, it's like, for example, when the whole thing about having that temperament for wanting to be on top of things. So if at a young age you are taught not how to channel that properly, by 14, your actions are going to, you're either going to reflect about maybe amplifying that, or if you haven't had like good role models around, if you've had good role models around, then you would not really act like that, because your parents may be bad people, but as long as you have good support systems, then you have more chances of like coming out better, basically.
I agree.
I feel like this is the opportune time to talk about beating. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, the road spoiled the child.
Is that what you believe?
Okay, firstly,
For me, frankly, yes.
was everyone beaten in this room?
Yeah, I was beaten.
He mob.
You weren't beaten.
No, I wasn't. Can you hear me?
When they
Hey,
call you beaten,
I know that much. I feel like
when they
beaten
call
has
you
a-
beaten,
I was buttered, you guys. What do you?
I wasn't battered. I was
she also
beaten.
hasn't battered.
But
Actually,
beaten.
no, my mom hit me, but like not enough. You know, like as in.
Or does okay? So can we like, bruh?
I was beaten at home and at school.
If anyone starts to say too much, we'll just bleep them out. If guys start to like say criminal charges, we'll bleep them out.
I
But
tied my hands behind my back, hung me upside down by my ankles,
And then whipped me.
and then with the buckle of
so
the
what
belt
does-
on the
what
back
does-
of my
what does
head.
beating for you?
Beating was basically, okay, should I say at home or at school? Because those was two different beatings, bro.
Home. We're talking about early child development.
But
What
even
beaten?
school was
Even
early
school,
childhood
yeah,
development,
school
both.
also.
Between the age of 0 and 8.
And-
Nigga, they quaid me in
P2.
Green Hill, bro.
P1 and P2.
Bruh.
Let's start with home then.
Okay, actually, we can. Home was chill. Actually, home wasn't even beating, man. Home was like more structured. They tell you you've broken the plates because you are playing football in the house after we told you 10 times not to. So that deserves 4 strokes. So you'd get your 4 strokes.
Was it strokes with like a...
So like a branch, a tree branch.
Okay.
Do you have to put it?
No. But they used to keep it up in a particular place. In
Were
the
you ever
cupboard.
beaten like enough for you to remember?
Kauma is calling. Was that beaten enough to remember?
For you to remember the pain?
Was there ever a time?
Well, like you remember being like
It was
sore
like,
from the
actually,
beating.
that was too
No.
much.
But I remember
Really?
being beaten several times. But not being
But
so
not
like the
like-
next
yeah,
day, or
yeah.
I'm dying, or my hip is hurting.
Like what was worse? Like the pain from the beating was probably less than the...
Psychological,
the fact that you're
that you're
being
going to be beaten.
Okay.
And like they'd really play with it. So like they'd say like,
Go
you've
ahead.
done this,
Mhm.
daddy's coming home at night, he's going to beat
Aha!
you.
That's how
That
it was.
alone is
That's how
enough
it
to get your...
was. You be
But
on edge.
at school I was now like battered, bro.
Damn.
But I think that was I think that's
And
every
why
Ugandan.
Is that okay?
I'm not saying it's okay.
No, but as a society in Uganda, we've come to say that that's fine, that a teacher can. Like,
No, I think it's
No,
just
that's
shared-
colonial
it's a shared-
mentality. That's
It's a
colonial
It's a shared-
mentality.
It's like shared trauma.
That's colonial mentality. Like that's how the missionaries used to deal with the students in school.
The blacks.
Yeah, they just whoop them. So as they were training teachers, I think that's how they taught them to train.
Passed it down.
They just passed it down in the schools. But that one was too brutal. I remember there's a teacher we had, man. I remember
Bro,
his name,
a
Mr.
teacher-
Kafko.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this,
Guys are dramatic.
nigga, you can stop it. No, I'm playing. Mr. Kafko used to have this thing where he beat you here like this, man. In
Oh,
P4.
with 2
Hey.
fingers.
2 fingers.
Hey yo.
Bro, that thing was so painful to the point one day I told him, Mr. Kafka, I'm going to tell my mom. He never beat me again. But
By the way, you need to do that. You need to empower your
kid,
child.
though.
Like,
Right.
if they touch you, like, come
Just
and
come
say
and tell me.
something.
okay, but you know the funny thing is, my mom didn't care, man, when I told her. I just told Mr. Kafka for him, bro. Like, I told him, go.
I'm
Today,
going to
no.
my-
But when I
your
told my mom,
hey,
I
you're
was just
the
like,
fruit of
"Wait,
the
you're
blood."
probably doing some dumb shit.
But I feel like that's why we need to change our like attitude towards violence, especially allowing other people to exact so much violence on our kids, because like some of those beatings are just so unnecessary. For
True.
there's not necessary beating, but like some of them are just, it's like like really you're just trying to take out your anger on me. This
I
is just
agree.
whatever.
Like, you have no business beating up like a P4 kid. That way we were beaten, man. For like dumb shit like failing an exam. Is that my fault or the teacher's fault? Because me, I really do not know. You're supposed to teach me. And now you're beating me for failing. I feel like they should be
You know-
beating you for me failing,
And
bro.
then also that disrupts your relationship with education, because now you also start building this idea about now how to get ahead and like
like a negative correlation.
exactly like, so I feel like it just instills a lot of fear and it just really impedes your creativity.
Nah, I
So
definitely
fact.
have a negative correlation with education. That
That's
might
a
be it.
fact. Early child
'Cause me,
development.
as far as I'm
Bro.
concerned,
That's
school
true.
is useless in 2022,
See,
bruh. Like, maybe that's where that
you.
comes from.
Kafko,
Mr.
man,
Kafko.
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 You robbed the
Kafko.
you robbed the
Go away.
nation. You robbed the nation. bro.
Nah, like I'm one of those guys who has like a problem remembering people's names and faces.
But
But I remember Mr.
Kafko.
Kafko of P4 Yellow. That was a good name, yeah.
But I also have a Green Hill horror story. I was only there
Is
for
it?
like P1, but I didn't like the way they were.
MJP for blue.
I don't even remember. But
Same.
like what I remember was how they were in their effort to teach me they were threatening me and instilling fear in me.
How?
And they were basically were learning how to write. Imagine learning how to write. And then she was, because I think I was just not getting it, and she was like, if you don't get it right, I'm going to inject you. And
Inject you with what?
Yeah. Inject was a threat. Inject was a
Yeah,
threat,
I'll
yeah.
inject
But
you.
I'm
Yeah.
a child. Do I know? You know, you go to.
'Cause they know for sure. By the time you come, you've been injected at least once. You know what that feels like.
Exactly.
This is the thing.
Yeah, I'll inject
Yeah.
you.
You
know, I
It
thought my
was a
school was
proper
bad.
threat. A
No,
proper
and
threat.
so
No,
one-
you wouldn't be injected for real.
Oh,
bro.
you wouldn't.
Yeah,
actually-
but like
Just
the
a
threat
threat.
is horrible.
Yeah,
That's the
just a
thing.
threat.
Exactly. No, like you're so young, and you're like, and they're pointing at like their cupboard. It's there. Why you not do it? It's there. And so like one time I just told my mom, I'm like, I'm not going back to school.
Wow.
Yeah, and she allowed because she also didn't like Green Hill. She wanted to take my older sister out, but then she like didn't. But with
Ah,
me,
you're
she's
such
like,
an independent.
I was caned for my
I-
handwriting.
Yeah,
Just
bro.
saying.
I was
Yo,
caned.
relax, man.
This guy looks like a kid with a bad handwriting.
To this day, my handwriting is poor, man. Like,
Yeah.
my handwriting is
Handwriting is
actually
actually
work,
fire now.
man.
You can just
It's
tell a
fire.
bad handwriting, boys.
And the funny thing is, I can write in cursive.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Thank
But
you.
I still choose
Thank
to write
you.
I can
poorly.
see this guy's handwriting because it's so beautiful.
Let me tell you, yeah. My cursive is also lit, but my handwriting is sus, man. I won't lie to you. There's this chick called Miss Nachin too. I remember her.
Fire ban her.
So, okay, to be fair, my handwriting was bad. I don't like. I used to feel the line. So if I'm writing like an M, the M has to touch the top. and the bottom.
That's both.
So yeah, man. And then this one day, and the thing with school is, I mean, you'll tell me. I don't know whether it's good, but like the way it was in my school, if you write well, you graduate from a pencil to a pen.
That's how it was
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's how it was everywhere. Is
that
yeah.
good? In certain schools, you even had to get a pen license, bro.
Eh.
Aga Khan.
Yeah,
Damn.
no, yeah, exactly. And then
They
like
give
if
you a
you are
license.
running behind, yeah.
Is that a good thing?
The thing is, it really promotes rivalry, like among kids, and especially if you're not also teaching kids how to collaborate with each other, they're now just going to be seeing each other as like rivals.
That makes sense.
Because even like when we're talking about like play when they're young, it's like it's good to have collaborative play, like play that they're working together and not okay, who is going to be the best? And if that's the only play you're giving your child, then you're going to create like a complex issue with them. They're either if they don't win, it's going to crush them, and because they're not winning, then they feel like they're failures. But like maybe that's not what they're good at, you know. Like so, it's exploring your
I
child.
realized that I might have many issues, bro.
Yeah.
You just realized now.
Because I was the second last guy in my class to get a pen.
Pen license.
And the last guy poured ink on me when I got my ink.
I can't lie, bro. That's
Yeah, man.
They poured ink on you.
a shame.
Yeah.
What happened when
And
you
he
went
was
home
using a
that day?
pencil, so I
What
don't know
happened when
what
you
was
went
using.
home that day? They must have whooped you extra.
Nah, they just. I get. My mom was like, "Okay, I guess it's because you just said using a pen."
Yeah, that's why
she
you're
assumed
covered
it
in
was
ink.
me. Yeah.
No, for us, we're not like that, bro. Shame on you.
Nah, but to be fair, I also don't know I had a bad handwriting.
Oh, some people just
my
have bad
cursive is
handwriting.
nice.
Yeah, maybe
man.
your hands are just like just
Why
don't
is
move
that
like
a
that,
standard?
Why is
Like,
that a
okay,
freaking
what does
standard?
Like what does it?
Bro, how much
And
do
that's
you
the
even
question.
write
Today. How
don't
much?
write
I'm
a
sure my
thing,
handwriting
bro.
is worse, and I've not seen it in like a year.
I wish they were teaching us how to type. I wish they were teaching us like your typing speed is slow. Like that's what I learned when I was learning cursive,
Yeah, I
like
would have
later on in high school. But like this primary school stuff about writing, handwriting, they don't know to teach about. What do they call it about? You have to print.
That's the thing.
They say about you have to print. Like that's what they'd call it in Green Hill, like writing with a good handwriting,
Yeah.
printing.
Yeah.
Nigga, what is printing? What printers, bro? Like, like what is printing? They're teaching us useless skills, man.
Nicole, I have a question about that play thing, though. The competitive thing. So, in this day and age, man, I don't even know how school operates now. But then, I mean, back in the day, we used to have playtime, and the children were left alone.
Yeah, you
To
just
play.
do your thing.
You just do your thing. So,
break time.
yeah, break time, lunch time, what?
Break time.
Go back home with like a white shirt that's now yellow, then they beat you.
Which is so unfortunate. Like, it shows your child has had fun. Like, they've been exploring.
But that's why they're
It
giving
should-
kids white shirts.
Creating this problem. This child has no control over that shirt.
White
But the person
shirt.
creating that shirt, that whatever decided actually
That
all kids
makes
are
This is the
going
so
to-
color here
sense,
for kids.
yeah.
For kids.
I think that's colonial mentality, man. Because
Facts.
young boys and
Literally,
girls in
if you
UK
look at
wear
the
white.
uniform, if you look at the uniforms, right, that kiddos, not kiddos, Africans in that colonial period were wearing, that shit looks almost identical to the uniforms that we're wearing in primary school.
Why
and
would
like
it have changed the like?
khaki shorts, long socks, white shirts?
Nothing has changed, man.
That's preppy look.
That's literally like colonial
Yeah, it's
mentality,
very
bro.
weird, man.
Yeah.
Ties, you guys were
We learned these
ties.
things from missionaries, going.
Guys, what is?
No, the Green Hill guys wore ties.
Mm.
right?
Ties and Green Hill.
And
KJ,
Agakan wore ties.
I think we was also in KJ, but we didn't wear ties there.
I can't throw shade at my school, man. It was alright.
But I feel
Aside
like
the
what you're
whoopings.
talking about is like unstructured play. Like there's
Yeah,
different types of like
Does play have to have to make it collaborative? Per se, does it have to be guided? Because going back to his point earlier, some children can be competitive, man.
Yeah. And what's wrong with
Innately. So that's the question. Does play have to be structured?
No, see, now play is such like a big topic because it's like a interdisciplinary idea. So many disciplines like talk about and use play. And the main thing about play is it's like an innate way for us to kind of connect to each other and like also learn about ourselves. So like that's why play should be structured, and also it also should not be. Like sometimes people think they're going to like create all these activities for their kids, and like they're going to be in tennis, they're going to be in football, they think, yeah, my child is playing, they're out there active, but like you're like not giving them like proper structure, like you're over structuring them rather. And so sometimes you need to allow kids to just be kids and explore the things that they like.
What is a
basically.
good example of structured play and what is a
Yeah.
bad example of
Like, what's a
structured
good
play?
game?
So no, structured play is not just about games. So like the different play has different social perceptions as well as like cognitive demand. So like there's like solo play, you can play alone, you can play in pairs, you can play like parallel to each other. You're not playing with each other, but you're just next to each other.
Yeah.
And then there's also group play. But then there's also now the different cognitive demand of like what like the plays need. So for example, functional play is like just things that are very repetitive. Like, you know how we just sing songs in class, like just making melodies.
In my heart.
Yeah, and then you just
Fire song.
all over.
Shout out that jam.
I started making melody.
Right?
Honestly, bro,
That song actually gives me
that's a
trauma
classic.
right now, man.
Yes,
Making
yes,
melodies in my heart. Let me sing that.
Yes,
It's in a
yeah.
downward
Yeah.
tempo in my heart. It's a very.
Yeah, don't tell Jordan
I don't
Peele.
want again,
You
bro.
just know Jordan Peele's next intro.
Making
Making
melodies in nope two. Nope. Nope. Making melodies. Anyway.
Play is so good like that. It's like a way for all of us to bond. Like we all have now that like same experience, and that's how it's also. Oh yeah. That's why it's also like really cultural.
Going back to that, I do understand that because there's this lady from back in the day. She's called Maria Montessori. I think when she was talking about play, she was talking about how important it is for a child, because anything and everything a child interacts with is an opportunity for them to learn. Yeah. And for her approach to education is put the child out in nature. Like, just put them in the compound. I promise you they'll find something to play with.
That's what my dad says. That kids will entertain themselves.
That's a fact.
Give them enough time.
That's a
Like
fact.
they'll literally
Just leave
do
him,
it.
you'll find something.
And
to
you'll
do.
be shocked how much they'll learn from that.
Bro, at my grandma's place, so my grandparents used to live in Kakira.
Mhm.
And also my grandparents were old when we met them. So they don't have toys. My parents didn't really have toys like that. But when we would go to their house, it would be all the cousins, basically, like all the kiddos, all the grandkids would go there. And I vividly remember every morning we would go out and pick, like, do you guys know what a purple branch looks like?
Mhm.
Chiwembe.
It's
Is that
got- it's not hard.
What is it? I don't know.
It's
popo
shaped
branch.
like this. Like each leaf has
Yeah,
a
that's papyrus. Yeah.
the popo one.
Yeah.
It has like it kind of looks like a baked
Bro,
leaf, but
Just
with
know that
extra.
it's like a very, this is going to sound so dumb, like a very leafy branch,
Mm.
Usually sounds
right? Like, and I don't mean leafy in the sense that it has more leaves, just leafy in the sense that
but
it's
It really
the
looks like a
material
leaf.
of it.
It's a leaf.
It's like a leaf.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a hard branch. Bro, I don't know how they were there every morning, but every morning we would pick those and play with that shit all day. Be like swords and shit. Be like, bro, it was so fun. I'd look forward to picking like a right one that will last.
The whole day.
Now, let me ask you a question. If you saw it right now, would you be excited?
I feel like I would, bro. Like, I remember the first time that I saw that house as an adult. Obviously, it looked much smaller, but like,
The
I just remember feeling
nostalgia.
so happy, man. Anyway, yeah.
And, on that point of kids entertaining themselves, I remember one thing I used to do is when they'd kill chickens at home, it's a bit gruesome. So, forewarned,
Started on
they would start like the hawks, the kites rather, would come and like start circling where we're killing them. So now me, I would get the heads of the chicken and just throw them up
and
see
they
the
catch them.
kites catching them, bro, and going.
So
That became a game for me, bro.
Yeah.
They'd kill,
be
they'd kill
fair,
a whole
yeah.
chicken. I'd just be getting chicken just like, so woo.
To be fair, we used to do that at school. And they used to beat us for it. The days of
Hey.
give meat.
Yeah.
No one would eat that meat. It was just soup. Guys would like throw their like, a piece of meat. And the hawk would come and get it.
Out of bro, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life,
That
bro.
all your buds were like carnivores, bro. I remember us at KPS, it was just regular break, bro. Like a mandazi, man.
Just
Like the Hawks were notorious for just taking guys' breaks. It would come out of no, bro. That wasn't fun. It was not a fun activity. It would just come
forcefully.
It sees you slacking, not paying attention.
Allah.
Takes your
Next thing you know,
takes
you're
your
hungry
bag.
lunch.
Weren't you there in Aga Khan on like chips and chicken day, and how like the hawks would they would target people?
That's the my next point. Like I wasn't in Nagakan myself, but my sister was, and she's told me every day, like there's place between the canteen and where they eat from was a danger
my
zone, bro.
God.
It's like,
In
whoa.
there, you
Aga Khan
against
with
the
this
kites.
marabou strokes. Aga Khan had mob zips, bro. Aga Khan was such a nice school, bro, but it was placed
in a bad area.
Okay, I know they call it Old Kampala, but it was old Kampala, bro. Like that guy was just dangerous
That was
together,
The
bro.
Gero, bro. It was across the road, across like the channel was where Chiseka
Aha.
Market.
Yeah,
During
yeah,
riots,
that's
bro.
during riots,
I
tear
don't know
gas
how
is in the school
Such
itself,
a
bro.
nice school was placed so central to like, bro, so adjacent to a slum, man.
I think it's like one of those things where like it was an really old school, so that was the land that was given to them back in the day by
Old
like.
Kampala, yeah.
But eventually that old company became Chiseka
real-
Market.
yeah.
And I know they have to deal with the consequences.
I went to Aga Khan. I went to Aga Khan nursery and Aga Khan. I was in Aga Khan and in like P1. I left in P2.
That doesn't count.
But,
That's cool.
but the fact that I remember, you
You
just know what was happening.
No,
in
no,
those- I broke my nose at that school, but that's another story.
What you're
That's
playing, right?
I was playing. It was playtime.
I love Aga Khan because of its like play structure. It had a lot of people would call it risky play. Like when I'd gone for a conference in Orlando, and they were telling you about like different aspects of ECD and like different ways like ECD practitioners can just like make projects and advocacy and all that. They were talking about like risky play. So I'm like, what's risky play? And it's just basically a lot of teachers are very scared of allowing their children to like, what are those monkey things? Monkey bars.
Monkey bars.
The ones where you had to like jump, yeah, and it was so dangerous. And like, if you look at it, it's a bit whatever, but like I
That's
feel
how I
like
broke my nose.
Risky play.
Exactly word for word how I broke
risky
my nose.
play, but it's so important because you're fine, you survived.
Yeah, they
Like,
took me down
you
to the
learn-
nurse.
exactly.
She fixed me up.
You do that
You
job,
learn
she just
your
like cracked
lesson.
your nose.
No, to be fair, I'm not even certain that it broke, but I know
You just fell down.
I hit my nose. So do you remember where the Aga Khan waiting area was?
Oh yeah.
You know how there were bars there?
Yeah.
So I was swinging on those bars. fault holding your name, what. So I did something dumb. I think I tried to like flip myself around it and I slipped. So I smacked my nose on the bar.
No, kids used to do that. I
Yeah.
think would try.
I smacked my nose on the bar and I was with my mom.
Hey,
And bro, I just remember like pulsing
feeling.
and my
blood.
nose just bleeding. My mom just rushed me down to a nurse.
So sorry.
Literally, we had the same thing.
At
in
least your
City
mom was
Brands,
there.
except us, it wasn't like bars. It was, those were parking things, the were poles. So guys trying to jump over it and it like gets caught in your pants. Then you just just land on your face.
At the Aga Khan, do you remember Aga Khan tennis court?
Yeah.
So now this is after I left Aga Khan, I was now in KKL. On the last day of KKL, kids could just do what they wanted.
Yeah.
So we would play football wherever we
You went
wanted.
KKL?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember seeing you.
What team were you all on?
I was
We
on
might have even
Splash.
been in different seasons.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
I remember this one time we were playing in that tennis court. And this kid boots the ball mob high. And I was fast. I was like a quick kid. So I'm running, looking up at the ball.
Instead of where you're
Bro.
going.
Was it
I
a
rammed into that tennis pole. I think that holds a net. I rammed into it, spun, like, as soon as I hit it, I lost all my breath.
Winded.
I was winded. And because I'm tiny, I'm short, like I'm a little kid. So it hits me square in the chest here. It dodges my face just by it hit me here. I still have a mark, bro.
Hey.
Like on my chest is still like a mark.
A reminder
Hey.
to look where you're going. And I'm like,
Bro, that shit hurt. Like, I remember, like, I spun and then I just fell on my back and I was looking up at the sky, but just fighting for my breath, bro. But I guarantee you that after that, I got my breath and I could play.
of course,
Risky play.
The risky play.
Risky play.
I remember the most example of risky play that I can remember, like one of the big ones is in when we had this was not even in high school, this was not even
You're
primary
a
school.
grown ass man, bro. Your neuro links and
Was he said right now? I was like,
You're just
yeah.
an idiot.
I'm not bringing
just
you
a fool.
into
This is no longer
risk.
risky play. This is
Risk.
You
We're
just
now
need
in risk.
You're
Taking
just
risk.
You're just a buffoon at
So-
this point.
There was a what's it called? A merry-go-round. Now, this school was so boring that one of the fun things we used to do at break was we'd sit in the merry-go-round, yeah? And then the two like oldest guys in school would push this merry-go-round.
As fast as it can go.
Bro, like literally, if you did not tuck your head between your knees in this merry-go-round, you were flying out. That's how fast this thing was going. They even had to ban this thing and they took away the merry-go-round, bro, because of this game.
hazard?
Our kiddos in
One
particular
kiddo
are-
had not tucked his head, bro. And I think it might have been me. But I remember me one time I flew out. But I don't think it was me. That wasn't the incident that they took it to. But I remember one time I was in that merry-go-round
They gave
sitting.
all of you 3 strikes.
I just felt my head like tilting out like this. And centrifugal force took over from there, bro. I flew out of this thing, bro. But a risky play, shout out risky play, man. Shout out risky play.
It's so important, and like a lot of people don't really appreciate. Like a lot of teachers are very scared for their children to like go out and take risks. They're like, no, don't do that, and don't whatever. And you realize like you're making a critical voice in this child's head every time they're trying to like accomplish something, because
Risky.
exactly, like you jumping off and doing that, you're trying to be adventurous and innovative and creative, and you got hurt, but at least you tried.
Yeah.
But then the other
It's
kids
worth
who just,
Break
It's a
their
good
legs.
kind of heart. Makes
I
sense.
mean, he broke his nose. Oh.
Yeah. No, I can't lie, bro.
He's here breathing
I feel like
clearly.
that was my parents. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just like in their nature, but they've always been very like, let them figure it out type parents. Like they'll protect you where they feel like it's extremely dangerous, but for the most part, like I grew up in Bugolobi and I remember being a kiddo and waking up in the morning, like 9, 10 a.m. and hearing the other kids downstairs calling me and us getting on our bikes and just riding around the whole of Bugos, bro. over Bandali, what down those days was different, you know. There were no bars, all those were houses. So we would ride like that all day, getting chased by dogs or eating at random guys' places. Like, bro, we had no money and we had no business being that far away from home. But we did it anyway, man.
Nah, that kind of reminds me also of my bikes, bro. I remember I had a bike, and me and this guy called Ibra.
Bro, bro.
Tamale. I don't know. I've put his full governments
him,
out
I know
right
him.
now.
He's
Don't Google
doing
him.
it, man.
We would ride our bikes, bro. All the way from Intenda to Chambo. We'd go about way.
On these bikes, like we'd ride these bikes so far out that we couldn't ride them back. We had to now get off and push them all the way back home, bro. But like, shout out bikes, bro.
Yeah. Now me, it's not even Ibra, it's DJ Alza.
DJ,
DJ Alza was involved.
So don't say where we're going
that's
today.
your day one.
He was
Why
always
he's a
involved, bro. When the dogs would start chasing us, DJ Alza would have pain for himself, bro. At the end of that day, it would be the guy who can bike the fastest and the farthest.
Oh, no.
And the dogs would always chase you uphill, bro. So I think those dogs were just playing with us, to be fair. I don't think they were trying to kill us.
Nah, you want trying to find out, bro.
I know, right?
Fun times.
Yeah,
Anyway,
man.
I have a
But it's
question for you.
crazy thinking about that, though. I wanted to say something. It's like you guys were allowed to, I think, reflecting in terms of like being a girl. Like, I don't think our parents would ever allow us to like go out and like ride our bikes for that long. And I think maybe that's why in some aspects men are like more adventurous to take risks because they're allowed to like be them, like just be, play in that risky behavior. Like, you know, just indulge in that because I don't know, I feel like for me and like the other girls I know, you're kind of like overprotected, like they want you to go out and play, but then they're not going to allow you to now not even that, but like you're not going to go ride your bike until wherever and you think no one is going to beat you or not beat you but
to
like
be
scold
fair,
you when you come back.
my parents didn't allow me to ride my bike that far. They
Yeah,
never
it
gave me
wasn't one
permission.
of those things.
It was
But
one of those
like-
things where like they have gone to work, I have a bike. It's holiday. They refused me to watch TV the whole day. I'm going. Like
It
it's
wasn't
one of
that
The
those.
person at home didn't like. Was there anyone
The
at home?
person,
The person at home, as far as they're concerned, were just riding outside the
were
gate. They have things to do at home for them.
Yeah.
They have to cook food. They have to mop.
Yeah.
Me, I'm out on the bike finding
feel
out
like-
how far we can go.
I feel like I want to speak for my sisters, but not just my sisters. Like growing up in the flats, Bugolobi flats, your older girls were riding bikes.
Yeah.
Like everything that we did, they did with us.
See, my sister was also with me.
They were always with us. So that riding the bike shit, my sis would come with us because we both had bikes. So yeah, but I hear you.
But I feel like, yeah, that's community. That's like really good though. That, you know, that's like street play and that's also like an important part of play. Like street games are very cultural almost. You know, those things of, it's kind of like a pilgrimage. You guys are riding all your bike all the way to whatever. And
Stranger
it's
Things.
like, exactly.
All the way to the, what do they call it in Stranger Things?
Vecna. The upside
the
down.
upside down.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's so important like to have those street games and for like people to be treated equally. But like sometimes it's not always the case. And like, for example, one of my friends was also doing this ECD thing with me when we were learning about like risky play. She was just like, oh my goodness, my mom always told me to like, watch out, be careful, da, da, da. And like, I feel like I'm very, you know, like I'm
Like super
I-
precautious.
exactly when I'm doing everything, you know, I don't want to be too risky about what I'm doing. Like, of course you take risks, but I feel like you don't have that adventure if you are not taught, like given that freedom to like be creative. And
My question is, how risky can risky play get?
the
Like
thing is,
Because
it's
there
also
still has to be a
a boundary.
yeah, no, of course. So there's a boundary. It's not like don't allow your child to just go play on the road like that, but it's like watch them, but from a distance. Know when you need to like interact with them because sometimes they want you to play with them. Other times they're already like constructing their own things and like they're constructing their own things and they're just doing their own stuff and they want to be alone. But risky play is like more of if you see your child is doing something that's a
Could
bit
kill them, yeah.
not could kill.
Yeah.
I think that
be
sounds
close to death
for you
a
to
bit too
intervene.
dumb
Okay,
for
let's
your
say
age.
let's say you have gone for a hike with your child and there's a river and like there are whetstones. Like instead of telling your child, oh, watch out, you're just making them more scared. You'd rather tell them the rocks are wet. Tell them why they should be scared. Explain to them the reason why they should be cautious. Don't just instill fear in them, like, be careful that. Like, tell them why they should be careful of this, Don't just shout commands.
This is why we're just touching fire.
Can
Be like, don't touch the fire.
It's hot.
Me, I want to see.
Yeah,
I think you
want
can
to
tell
see
someone like that thing is hot, but until they have been burnt by they don't fully like comprehend.
No, but do you think you have communicated effectively to a child when you have said that thing is hot?
No. I think I've communicated effectively. I tell them like, don't touch that.
I'll
Like,
give you
never touch
one
the
situation
stove.
that my dad always like advocated for. My dad has always been a big swimmer. Like since we were born, he's always been like a huge on swimming. And I remember whenever, even with us, whenever we'd be at a pool for like one of our younger cousins, like it's almost like he kind of he knew that the situation was controlled, right? So if one of my cousins who couldn't swim, got FOMO and chose to jump into the pool, he would let them. As in,
Risky play.
because you're not going to tell like, no, don't jump, don't come in, you can't swim. But then they're seeing you kids having fun, so they're thinking, let's have. So, let you jump in.
And
You realize that
look a few meters.
he holds you up and says, no,
Hey.
that's why we're saying don't come in.
Yeah.
But now that you're in, you can't get out. So, like after they've fallen in, either he wouldn't let them get out until they're comfy and having fun in the water, or after they get out, he would make sure that before they leave, they've come back into the water.
Again.
Because now you've learned the lesson that this thing here is not, you can't play with it, but like if you learn how to like be comfortable in it, you'll be okay.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, yeah? That's the perfect lesson.
No, your dad is
So now
shout
give
out
us
your
a
dad.
practical way. Here on the pod right now, I'm a child. I want to touch fire. What would you say?
If you touch that, it will burn you.
How's that
What-
different
what
from
is
it's
burning?
hot?
But I don't know what ban means.
Yeah, even hot.
But also there's a thing, like, you also know the keywords your child understands, like
Ma.
It's bad.
like
Ma.
Coco.
That's what there's a
bit too young
term.
to talk to.
Coco is overused, bro.
Well, it's
Coco
ma.
means everything.
But man, I feel like at a certain point the kid has to first touch that
I agree.
stove, bro.
I
That's
agree.
That's only
risky.
they learn, bro.
Well, that's not play,
so
but
yeah,
it's risky
yeah,
something.
exactly. So risky play is about play that involves a level of, like, the child can get hurt, and it's, of course, you don't want the child to get hurt like too badly, but there's also a level of, you want them to, I feel like it helps them control the way they are, manage their emotions, especially like, did you ever go back on that swing, like do that whatever again in Aga Khan? Did you ever try?
I just had to break my nose once. I left
And you were
Aga Khan,
done.
In fact, the next time I left Aga Khan.
So it's like
I left the
You
whole shit.
blame-
Like, you know what? You fuck these bars.
So I feel like risky play helps in brain development. It helps create those connections as well, So it's not always good to shelter your child from.
You first put
All
candle
this.
wax, you're like,
Yeah. But
now.
of course, don't allow your child to get burned.
Yeah.
Not on your watch. But I feel like you can only tell them so much, man. Because
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't remember the times I was told that the stove is hot or like, but I remember the times I've been burnt.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. Like
This is
times
my
I've touched
issue, yeah?
something hot.
Okay. For some people, like me, I don't put like my parents on blast. But every time this jazz would happen, man, they'll beat us after. Like, I remember this one time, they bought me a shirt with a Superman logo, yeah? And I thought I could fly.
Hey, I swear you can.
Now maybe. But I jumped off some cheap platform and I landed. Risky play, yeah?
Yeah.
It's allowed. So I'm there in pain. They find me and they're like, now see. And they beat me.
After breaking your legs, they still caned you.
Hey.
As
But-
if you didn't learn your lesson. When you
So maybe, man, like I'm realizing a lot of things about myself and I don't like it.
Yo, I'm really curious about how you were disciplined if you weren't beaten.
Good question.
Just a lot of like instructions and shouting. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I feel
So
like-
now let's go to that now.
Mm.
Is shouting better than beating?
And what is shouting? Let's first define shouting.
Like-
yeah.
Okay, maybe not communicating in the most effective way, like the words you use and like your intonations, because I feel like you want your child to be either something like you or you have this image of them, but like you forget that your child is like your child. So sometimes you want them to do good, but that actually is not their temperament. Like you are not attuning yourself to this child, and so that's the thing. So it's not like it would be things of like, I'm very disorganized, the room has to be clean. Now I don't clean my room, people are we are fighting with each other. And I would also give back. I wouldn't talk back, but like I was also not an easy child. Like I was very
Stubborn.
stubborn.
Like a hard-headed kid though. Strong-willed.
Yeah.
Indiscipline.
Indiscipline of the
Bad
highest
manner.
order.
No. I was class representative in year 6.
Hey, you can still be in discipline and class
Yeah,
representative.
those are most indisciplined.
The teacher, I swear the teachers are always in charge of those things. They never allow people who they don't want to like be on the thing.
Do you see me here? Hey, I was also a
I
class
really-
representative.
Every day. We're all prefects here.
I feel like in like when you're in primary anyway, like the teachers kind of they're like this person.
No,
can't be.
no
Yeah.
democracy.
Yeah. No, there is, but it's like, why don't you just sit this one out? Like it's one of those things. Of like, are you sure?
Actually,
Like,
stuff.
Okay.
yeah, that type. But yeah, I think I was a child's child. Like I had a lot of energy. I would go to school and I come back dirty. I would lose things. You know, that was like the main thing. I was very irresponsible, you know. I was in that section of my childhood. So I feel like that's where a lot of like the parenting had to come in, of like trying to make me disciplined, but for me I don't want to be disciplined, and I also want my own different type of structure. And you know, you're trying to do that traditional way, but like I'm in a modern school, I'm watching modern TV, I'm, you know, how can you want me to like be like that? You know, everything around me is this way. So it's like you're showing me all these things, but you also want me to be different from them. So it's very hard, you know. So it was like mainly that.
That's interesting.
I have one last question. Children need entertainment, yeah? What forms... I know play is a form of entertainment, but like now you have, for example, if a child is being stubborn, give them a phone, they will sit down and watch. So in terms of like early childhood development, what forms of entertainment are encouraged for children?
I think definitely not to rely on too much technology, because there's a way technology like sucks the life out of, you know, of course it's good, like sometimes you need to help like a distraction, you're an only parent, you're using this method to just like help give yourself a break, but like chronic use and children not going outside and indulging in like street play and all that, you know, creating these bonds, like although maybe you're not in the same neighborhood, you guys had similar activities in your separate neighborhoods, and like you can bond over that now, you know. And that's like the main thing about play, is it makes children like understand each other, and they feel like they're more likable. I don't know, not likable, but like you feel like you belong somewhere. And that's why it's like so important to like promote children like playing outside more than just even with themselves, more than like trying to give them gadgets. Because I feel like that's what we rely on a lot these days. Not all parents, but like there's some that do.
Yeah,
Because I
but
noticed
now,
the COVID babies are very antisocial.
yeah,
Like
but that's
you go
the
to
thing.
hold
Now,
them.
if all the kiddos are now gadget babies, and I go to school and me, I'm outside playing with sticks and shit, am I not
Yeah,
like?
the antisocial
Yeah,
one
am I
now.
not now the,
Who's not
the
in Minecraft?
outcast?
No, not really. I feel like not all kids are like whatever on their phones. I feel like kids still play. We may not be aware of it. Like we're not in the setting. We don't have kids, or like I don't know if you guys have younger siblings, but we don't see that part of like the community right now, because that's not our demographic. But I think kids still do go out. Like the flats have not like gone away.
Yeah,
Bikes
but there's
have
less
not.
kids outside For sure, there's always kids outside.
But is it also adults making outside less friendly for children? And then it's also now, I feel like a lot of these, we're perpetuating these issues, you know, like we're not creating environments and spaces. Like, for example, I feel like when we were younger, there was so much like kid areas, like even like in restaurants, like Steers had like a play area, there was
true.
spa.
But
There
Stairs has been on
was-
for like time.
So I feel
All
like there were
those
so
things are
many
closed.
places that like had like kid-friendly spots that we don't have today, or maybe I'm not aware of.
That's true.
But like I feel like we may not have like as many, and like we're regressing. But that's our fault. Like we're choosing not to see kids playing together as important when we're building these things. We're not seeing these concepts anymore. Like it's on us.
But to be honest, I would rather my kid watches Cocomelon all day than some of the games I was playing, man.
Really?
Wait, bro, Bloody Knuckles. Do you ever play Bloody
Why
Knuckles?
were you
What
playing
does
Bloody
Bloody
Knuckles?
Knuckles?
Thank you.
What was Bloody Knuckles?
Bloody Knuckles is the one where you have a coin and you spin it on a table. Like if it's the four of us here, so you spin a coin on the table. The thickest coin you can find, it's here, is a 500 shilling. So everyone, if it
I
comes
spin it
towards
in
you,
one direction like this.
any direction, like you spin it on the table.
Okay.
So if it comes towards you, Melvin, you have to hit it in such a way that it continues spinning. So it keeps going like that. So you hit it, it goes towards her, she hits it, it keeps spinning, it comes towards me. If I hit it and it falls now, I have to put my knuckles down like this. And then you have to get the coin, put it in between your finger, your thumb and nani like this, and then just send it flying towards my knuckles. And it
I feel
starts
like a
bleeding.
lot of his-
We did
a
that
lot
for
of his-
fun.
No, a lot
For
of his
fun.
kiddo games- a lot
Risky
of his
play.
kiddo games I'll say this: a lot of his kiddo games were introduced to us by like older siblings. It was always like a cat.
That's where the problem
She
lies.
older kiddo who's chilling with her kiddos, trying to make them play.
But how can you how can you fight that, man? I mean, I think that you can combat that is having your kid who just watch Cocomelon.
No,
bro.
but I'm okay with Bloody Knuckles. It's just, it has
Bro.
a
Do
nasty
you know?
name.
Yeah.
Bro, do you know
It has a
how
nasty name, but what's
mashed
the
up
worst that could happen,
Happen.
bro?
You know, online there's just so much your kid
a
can do.
disease?
No, but
Nah,
this is the
from
thing.
our
This is the
coin.
thing. I feel
Bro, your
like
knuckles would literally
I feel like I
bleed.
prefer Bloody Knuckles, bro.
Your knuckles would
'Cause-
bleed.
Bro, no, let me tell you, guys would go out of their way if you mash up the coin to stretch your skin like that. Put your finger down, your hands down, and then like pull it forward like this so the skin is taut. So that when the coin now hits you here, you're getting a cut.
You're playing with some bad kiddos, bro.
Okay,
wonder.
maybe,
Some
maybe.
bad kiddos.
But that's what I'm telling you. Some kids are just irredeemable, bro.
Nah.
Some kids are just looking for bloody knuckles
But you
and
know, that
baggy
was-
soft
that was
slaps.
a good developmental experience
Yeah.
because you realize that
It
there are
was
some
good, eh?
kids. No. There are some kids who are they're a
Messed
bit
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
they
that
will
guy's
take
trying hard
something
to
too
me.
far. Like they're going to, you know.
What if I'm the
sometimes-
kid who is holding guys' knuckles like this, pulling them towards? And the point I'm trying to make is like kids can come up with some very, very unproductive games, bruh. The ones we played.
I swear that's cool, bro.
Yeah,
This new shit is a bit too.
What? Cocomelon?
But that's when you understand your like your
Cocomelon is Baby
personality.
Shark now on YouTube.
No.
You know, just kid watch Baby
This is the
Shark.
thing, yeah.
Okay,
I feel like
I'd rather be watching Baby Shark than play
It starts
Bagia,
with
bro.
Cocomelon. How far does it go though?
Exactly.
I
That's
mean,
the issue.
eventually you'll probably end up on like, what are those science channels? ASAP Science, Verisimilitude,
No,
Versitania.
okay, for me, my point is, I think there should be regulation even with that. Yeah, because nowadays it's just like, if your child is doing nothing, give them Cocomelon. You know, it's like a cure. If your child is being stubborn, give them Cocomelon.
As opposed to Bloody Knuckles.
No, I think let them be stubborn.
Yeah, like let kiddos pick what they want to, I guess.
Rather than always like refrain them.
Cocomelon.
Because now it's like, because we're associating with ourselves. Say one of us here had like a child, and he's here, or she's here, and then we're like, because we're talking to the adults or we're having a good time with ourselves, give the child Cocomelon. They sit down, relax, calm down, even in your home. Whereas you can let them be their child, yeah, and they enjoy.
At your expense.
Not at your expense. You don't always, you know, there's, like I was saying, the different types of play. Like, there's also constructive play. The child can make something, you know. You give them something to make,
Clay.
and they
Give your
like,
child
Clay.
they use their creativity instead of just
Till he starts
watching
eating the clay.
something, you know, all the
Hey,
time.
risky
It's
play.
not bad to, it's like we
To
all
eat
watch
clay,
TV,
there's
but, like-
minerals. Nutrients.
No, but like, you know, blocks and stuff like that, they can
True,
be
true, true.
nearby, you know. But I think there are other ways to keep your child busy than just a device.
We close on the main point now. So, Nicole, what's the one thing that you would need, like everyone who listens to this episode, to take away as far as early childhood development is concerned?
For their children, what should they do for their children? Or shouldn't do to their children?
What like I mainly hope is like there's a new found appreciation for it, and like people also just go and do their own research, like coupled with whatever has been said, because I feel like we have such a young population and we're getting into that stage of like having kids, and I feel like it needs to be in people's contemplation how like different factors affect like how a child is being brought up, and how experience-based brain development is very important. And we also need to like reflect on our own like community and the way we're teaching our children in school, you know, especially like in the national curriculum. We should not always be like exporting our kids to like international schools and whatever. We should have, you know, a ready-made, holistic, strong curriculum that we can, you know, take our own kids to, you know. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, you know. I feel when we appreciate early childhood development, we can also try to like change the systems we have in our own country, because the way we teach our children is not always the best. The pedagogy, how like teachers are very traditional. You're supposed to be still in class. You can't play. You can't communicate. Laughing is not allowed. Which those are all things that a child needs to grow and understand. Like they have a community and understand each other. So that was just like the main thing.
I respect that. I think that's a good message to let guys go away with.
And risky play.
Yeah.
Let them play riskily.
Agree. We're going to put all of Nicole's contact information, I guess.
Yes.
In the bio. Yeah. And we can't wait to have you back.
Me too. I can't wait to be back.
Yeah. Now we proceed to Patreon. Welcome to the Real Mobsters tier. Real Mobsters tier.
For the first time,
Yeah.
we have a lady on the Mobsters.
We're still with the lovely Nicole. So how's everyone feeling?
How was the
Like a
discussion?
motherfucking titty.
How's the discussion?
Yeah.
It was good, man. You did a good job. I think you educated the masses.
Man,
I think they know more about their early childhood
For
development.
sure. I'm sure there's guys who
Me,
are
I personally know I
investigating.
have issues, bro.
because of that,
That's what
or
you've
you knew it
gathered.
before.
No, I did now. I have issues, and I know it now, man. It's mismatching.
No,
I'm not
this
forgiving you.
conversation was important for like self-reflection, but it's even more important,
For your kids.
no, for judging strangers.
Hey.
So let's get into all our strangers. Every topic, I feel like every topic today has something to do with strangers and how they have some zips, like how they had some zips in their early childhood development, man.
That we'll find a way to tie it.
Magic, start
Wallahi.
it with.
Nah, I feel
Nah,
like Nicole
I
had something about smothering her
Some-
child with her
Oh,
boob.
yes,
a mother
yes,
smothering
yes,
her
yes,
child.
yes. Breasts.
So yeah, I was like, can
Breast,
you
he
imagine?
says.
So I saw this story about how like this woman in America, she had like twins, and she tried to kill like one of them by like, cause they were not latching onto her breast. She tried to like, she pushed the child like onto the breast for like about like 10 minutes, and then like it passed out. And then she tried to do it with the other twin, but the other twin survived, so she only killed one child. But the thing is, even her husband, her friends, they're saying that they do not want her to go to jail, that they don't want like the state to take the case as like murder, and they would want her to go to like a mental health institute because like, or institution, because like they think she's not okay, and jail time like is not what she needs. What
To
do
be
you
fair, I
That
kind of
is a
agree.
That's
Crazy.
a good topic, my lord.
Because as a
The fact
mother,
that
all
your
you want is your child
husband-
to like feed. So
Exactly,
she was
that's
just trying her best, like as a mother. Like this child is not eating. She's not eating. She's not eating.
Do you think
Yo-
that's
yo-
like
that's
a case of, like,
interesting that's where you
postpartum.
guys see it from. That's exactly where I see it from.
That's no.
it might be
Because
postpartum?
I don't
That's
see
the
it as she was trying to
Mother.
feed her kid.
If you'd like to listen to the full conversation, please consider subscribing to the Mob Jazz Podcast Patreon. Once you do, you'll have access to the full conversations as well as subscriber-only content. The Mob Jazz Podcast is made possible through our Patreons. If you like what we're doing here, please consider becoming one.